Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. Let's have some music on in the background, shall we? Because it's going to be a bit of a different stream tonight. I'm trying something different. It's not a major thing, really. It's a lot's going on today, and a lot's been going on in the last few weeks in terms of, well, me. So I thought we'd have a bit of a go at just having a chat session this week, really. So what I'm doing at the minute is I'm just trying to set up the fancy ass thing. So I've not done like a chat thing before. I'm using a community screen, a community chat screen I don't use very often. Just setting it up and getting it running, and adding the stuff that I don't usually have on it. So I'm going to remove that. Browser, gaming chat, viewer account. That's the wrong one again. I've added the same bloody one. Add browser, viewer account. It's exactly the same. Why is it exactly the same? Because I've added exactly the same one again. Gaming viewer account, which is also exactly the same. Oh my god. Remove. Okay, let's just leave it there, it's fine. So, yeah. Oops. Add image blackout. Okay. Add an image. No one's really watching at the minute anyway, so I'm not overly worried about things being a little boring. What I will do, I've just noticed I don't actually have the chat window up anywhere. So I'll just bring that up, give me a sec. I'll pop that out over there and hopefully that'll work fine. So get rid of that just now. Get rid of that. I'll point out I'm also in Discord. If anybody's watching and wants to pop into Discord, you're more than welcome to. I'm just going to hang around and do random stuff. The idea tonight is to have a chat with people who want to pop online, pop on, have a go. Have a bit of a random chin wag. I'm just going to try and get things sorted out. There? No, let's go to there and grab that one. And then what I want is filters, isn't it? If I open that up, filters, add a filter. Image mask or blend. Opacity, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to move that down a bit. Okay, that doesn't want to work at all. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that. Remove. Background loop. Filter. Image mask blend. Take that one. I'll do that. Okay, that didn't work at all. Filters, get rid of that. Close. Okay, fair enough. Right, so I want a text window. That'll do. Let's go to a nice simple font. That'll do. Hey Gamora, how are you doing? I seem to have two chat windows in there as well. That's odd. Which one am I keeping? Remove. And let's just move it somewhere sensible. What game? Oh, elite encounters. Okay, that's very nice of you, thank you. I thought you already had it, to be honest. But there you go. The 3-pack deal, I'd say, yeah, it's a good idea. It's, if you want to buy it, it's once I actually get my arsing gear and get the other two versions finished, and climb over the insurmountable problems I seem to be having with it at the moment trying to get these things done, then yeah, it'll be worth it eventually. But yeah, so I'm hoping that the EPUB is going to be a fairly nice version. They're just gone all the way across now. Right, hide that, lock that. I can put Dave Cam 1 on. There we go, hello. I think, to be honest, I mean, I'm going to be honest about that. I put the EPUB and the Mobi ones on there essentially as compatibility, but they're essentially going to be plain text more than anything else. The EPUB formatting is going to be very basic. The images are going to be okay. The PDF is the version that you want. The PDF is going to be the kind of go-to version because it has all the graphics and the layout and the fanciness and the prettiness that kind of make it an RPG sourcebook rather than just your average text novel. The EPUB and Mobi versions are for reference mainly more than anything else. So easily searchable, not a big footprint, not particularly large. Not much in the way of actual prettiness as such. So I'm thinking the Mobi version itself is going to be probably the most basic, and it may not even have graphics in it other than the ones that are definitely required. And even then, it might come down. But I don't know. What I haven't done is there's been quite a lot of traffic on the minute about the Kindle publishing changing. So it's gone from Create Space to KDF, I think it is. So it's all been amalgamated into the KDF situation, and you have to publish it through that. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to convert all that over. It's difficult enough at the minute trying to convert over to different formats. It's difficult enough to convert over to EPUB format because EPUB itself has been quite difficult to format because it's basically HTML. Blind Speed, hello. Why are you saying Arge, Bifford? It's odd. It's alright, faffing with the formatting again. Please give me a sec. Gaming chat. Move it over a little. Oi. Filter plus scaling and aspect ratio. And that did nothing. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. Delete, I think. Remove. And then remove. Ooh, scan lines. Does that make it better or worse? Scan lines. Let's go down. So everything's on top other than that. Filters plus minus. Wow, so basically making something a little bit transparent in this is fucking ridiculous. Get rid of that again. Yes. Plus color key. Ah, that's it. That's what I'm looking for. Add. Yeah. Image. Okay. just want you to... Can I just not... Oh, wait a minute. That's how you do it, isn't it? There we go. There we go. That's it. Much better. Okay, sorted. Right, now I've got most things the way I want them to look. Yeah, I've not got myself on the image at the moment. I was going to, but it doesn't look right with this motion background on there, with me and thinking, oh fuck it, you know what, stick me on. Boink, there we go. Hello. Let's make me a little bit smaller. I'll stick myself over in the corner over here. That'll do. I was going to make that the Discord chat window. So there you go. Hello everybody. Camera seems a bit far over that side. Let's slide it over. Set up a little bit and make it look a bit more presentable. Hello. Yeah, so right, for those of you who've popped on, I mean we now have 2 people on, although 3 would be more accurate because Beford, Blindspeed and Gamora are here. Welcome all to the first ever chat session. So as I say, as you can see in the big link at the bottom of the page there, I'm live in Discord if anybody wants to pop in for a chat. I'm keen on chatting about basically anything that's going on. And yes, today that includes politics, if anybody wants to broach that subject either in chat or in Discord. Any subjects that go today. It's just been a weird few weeks. So yeah. So yeah, the PC would be the one I'd look at most, but Moby be a little easier to read the lore on. Yeah, I think I'm trying to cast myself back into when I did the Kickstarter. I mean, that's a long time ago, and I mean that's 5 years, 5.5 years, pretty much now, since I launched the Kickstarter and came up with the idea of doing it. And you know, the PDF was the format that was kind of the key one. EPUB was included primarily because it's a simple, easy to read format. It's HTML based, so the theory was hopefully it'd be easy to port the content over. Yes it is. So once you've registered on the store, you can actually make your purchase, and then it'll be available for download on the My Downloads page. It's actually I think it's the same technology that that Frontier used for the original store they had. So yeah, once you've got it on there, then it's downloadable. And as I say, the only one available at the moment is PDF. EPUB is in production. Moby hasn't been started yet because, as I say, that they keep changing the options for that. And I don't know when to actually make a start on it. I was trying to make a bit of a focus on getting the hard copy download available, so the hard copy purchase available on DriveThruRPG. But that's one of the things I'm potentially looking at talking about this evening as well. Because I'm going to do this as a quite unofficial Elite Encounters thing. Now that someone's mentioned it, I think it's probably an idea to do a bit of an unofficial update. So yeah, what was I looking for there? Oh yeah. I was actually going to open up the EPUB in progress file, if I can remember where I've put it. Now I think it's in there. No, it's not. It's on the local shared drive. It's there. EPUB ebook. Encounters RPG. So what I'll do is I'll pop it on the screen, and I'll either turn the camera towards it so you can see it, or I'll share the window through TeamViewer or whatever it is that I use these days. But yes, I mean, as I say, no, not yet. Just leave as is. So there's a variety of different things that I need to do to get this done. So let's have a bit of an unofficial Elite Encounters update, shall we? It's been ages. I know the Kickstarter guys will hate this because they won't be able to look at it because they can't apparently read screens. Tell you what I'll do. I'll actually log into my sharing thing. Hope it connects. Then we'll pop that on over the top. Wait, different versions of TeamViewer. Bloody hell! Wow. So the kind of main things going on at the moment are the legal issue and the kind of refund issue that I'm having with the publisher, not the publisher, the printer, who took my money, couldn't print the book off, then admitted they couldn't print the book off, and then wouldn't refund me, or said they would, then didn't twice, and then seemed to have just not want to talk to me anymore. That's point one. Point two is trying to find another printer, that'll do the printing at a decent rate that I can afford. Issue 3 is getting the money to pay for that, because until I get that money back, I have no money. If I don't get the money back, then I will not have enough funds to actually cover any printing costs, because the one I went for was the second cheapest that I could find at that point, but it was only by like £10 or something, £20. They offered to drop it down to around 400, whereas the other one wanted the odd amount above the £400 as well to print it, which both were good deals. But I thought I was doing something a bit better, and obviously didn't. The better thing was that the company that I went for could do more colour pages at the price point, so they had a kind of very flaky idea what the colour page count would be within a certain budget. And they were willing to kind of expand on that, whereas the other company that I went for, who were, as I say, slightly more expensive, they had hard limit at 25% colour pages, and I'm a little bit over the colour page count on it, which is a shame. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that, and then I'm going to share my window with you guys. So let's add window capture, TVC, TeamViewer. There we go. Okay, so there is the EPUB in dev. So while I've got that on screen, I will just kind of go through what I was talking about first. Just let me pop that out to full screen size. And then move it down in the list. Will I move it all the way down? No, I'll leave it on top, and I'll put my logo at the very top of the list. Okay, there we go. I'll lock that in place. TVC up. There we go. Yeah, so I'm going to lock that off. I'm going to lock that. I'm going to lock that. Okay, wait a minute. I'm just kind of trying to put things on the page so you can see things easier. I need the chat so I can see what people are saying. There we go. Right, so this is, sorry, as I was saying, so the printing thing is a problem, and all that. Item 4 is getting the print on demand stuff ready for drive-through RPG, and item 5 is this, and that's not necessarily an order of importance. This is just my random kind of, this is what we're doing. Sorry, I'm just trying to get enough windows on the screen at the same time. Everyone's still there, it's gone very quiet. But yeah, so the item 5 is this, which is getting the other ebook versions out there and ready for publication. So this is the progress on that aspect of it. So this is your book. So an EPUB designer called Sigil, or Sigil, whatever way you want to say it, which kind of allows you to format out a book. Now it's not brilliant, because it's brilliant for what it is. It'll let you do what you want to do, but as I say, the formatting options are more limited than what you have with the PDF. So I'm kind of having to redesign the book all over again, which I wasn't expecting to have to do, because, and it's not just a matter of redesigning the book, I actually have to export and then re-import the text. Because this is where it all comes into play as being a bit crap, because the issue I've got, or one of the issues, I seem to have a lot of issues, need counselling maybe. One of the problems we have is that I have no money, so all the money that came in off the Kickstarter to fund this book went into, or at least most of it went into paying Frontier. The rest of it went into trying to pay costs and expenses in terms of trying to get things done and researched. Then it went into paying bills in terms of printer ink costs, sample prints, supplies, paper, research for. I mean, I think there was a £300 or £400 balance was dedicated for trying to research ways of creating miniatures and seeing if it was doable, which ended up being no, which I wasn't happy with. Plus, which I'm not allowed to do official miniatures. Then there was travel costs, marketing costs, all that different stuff. So obviously, this is a zero budget project as of this point in time, and has been for about a couple of years. I don't want to kind of go into how much of my own money I've put into this project at the minute to get to where we are, but it's not an insignificant amount over the last 3 years potentially. So I've tried not to spend money on things that are frivolous. I've tried not to spend Daftworks money on things that are frivolous, and that's where things have gone. But anyway, so yeah, we have no tools. So essentially, there's no way that Daftworks is a business with no ongoing income. So the only income we had coming in was from the Kickstarter. There's no way that Daftworks as a business, if you like, could maintain an ongoing license for professional software. And unfortunately, the industry standard for desktop publishing, like I've used for doing the RPG, is things like InDesign, and so on. So anything you have to pay for on a rolling subscription, like any Adobe product these days, is just a no-go. So that had to be kind of knocked on the head. So the option I went for after much research was a free piece of software called Scribus, which is a good piece of software. It's very very intuitive. It's not particularly stable. It's fully featured. It has a lot of awesome things in it, but it also has stuff in it that's not great. But then obviously we're having compromise here. So that's what I used to generate the book. Now, whether it's something I've done in the original formatting or something that's happened because it's something the program does, it does not export the content of the book in a linear fashion. And it also, when you try to export it as text or as a Word document, which is a plugin you can get for it, it corrupts it completely. Now I've also managed to beg, borrow and steal a friend's license for, or not steal it obviously, but get use of a friend's license for the full Adobe Acrobat software to try and export the book to a Word document from a PDF. That didn't work either. Now there's something to do with the order of text boxes. Text boxes just seem not to like anything, at least being in any sort of order in terms of the export method. So obviously the problem was can't get the book exported as a thing. So what I'm having to do essentially is go through this entire process of copy a paragraph, paste a paragraph, copy a paragraph, paste a paragraph, copy a paragraph, paste a paragraph, ad infinitum. And then each graphic that will come along, so as you're seeing in this chapter, there's all the graphics that were in the big book are now in this one. But that's a line by line, picture by picture, image by image, formatting by formatting method of doing it. Which essentially means I'm having to copy the whole book page by page across into a new format, which is taking an absolute age. And I'm not looking forward to doing things like the ship sheets, the ship posters. They're just going to be an image on a page, and I'm not overly pleased with that idea. So I'm struggling to try and find an idea about how to take it forward. So that's kind of what led me to a bit of a motivational block, with sort of getting the EPUB version carried on. Once the EPUB version is done, that will hopefully give me a much easier transition into getting the Kindle Mobi version done. I'm just going to hide that window now because I think I'm done with TVC. Hello again. Okay, close. Okay, I'm going to close EPUB on this PC now. So yeah, it will come. It's just going to be a matter of getting that motivation back and moving on with it. So I mean, I know it's what you guys probably don't want to hear. In that basically my own personal issues are again getting in the way of progressing with this book. But can I be honest? The whole damn thing at the minute is just negativity. Yeah, so that's the EPUB situation and the Mobi situation. They are coming. They're getting done little bit by little bit, and the more work that has to go into getting it done, the less time I find I'm spending doing it. And that to me is a bit of a I don't want to sound particularly bad on this one, but it's a warning sign for me when that happens. I could farm it off to someone else to do it. I may do. The option is there, I suppose. It is potentially something I would think about. Where's my pencil gone? I can't be asked. But I'll get there. So the other thing is the drive-through RPG hard copy, the print on demand from DTRPG. Again, it's a formatting issue. Very similar to what was happening with the print shop. Very similar to what's happening with trying to get the EPUB. It's all around the format I've chosen to do the game. And this is the thing. It all seems to be pointing back, and this is why I'm getting demotivated in chronic fashion at the moment. Is because it's just now starting to feel like every single decision that I made back in 2013, 2014 was the wrong one to make. So making the decision to do it as a fully featured RPG was wrong. Doing it with Frontier was wrong. Doing it without letting Ian Bell know about it was wrong. Trying to put things about the old games in it was wrong. Yeah, PayPal only, I'm afraid. I think you can use debit and credit cards, but it'd be through PayPal. Yeah, so now it's every time I try and move forward on our thing. So the pop going for the print shop I went with was the wrong decision because they've stiffed me. And using Scribus apparently was a huge mistake. That's very true. I mean, there's two options there. One's PayPal Express and one's PayPal. I think the full PayPal one, if I remember rightly, oh God, it's so long since I set this up, will actually let you use credit card through the PayPal system. And again, as Bifford says, you don't have to sign up. Yeah, so Scribus is a format that DTRPG do support, which was something I did check before I actually started to use it. Unfortunately, I didn't look far enough into that process, and it seems that they have their own template that you're supposed to use in order to be compatible with their system. So again, I'm in a position where I'm either going to have to reformat the entire book according to their format, or it won't get published to them, or it won't get put as a printable book through them. So, still trying to work my way around that problem at the minute. I've tried speaking to some of the guys there, but they don't seem to want to be able to answer the questions I've got. They are trying to help, and I am trying to be as clear as I possibly can be with them and try and find out where it's going, but It's not seeming to go down particularly well, and I'm not sure if it's them not understanding what I'm trying to do or what. But it's the same problem that I had actually with the print house, in that they can't seem to get the hang of the gutters and bleeds. So you've got you know what bleeds are. You've got your page size, and then you've got overprint on that page size. So you've got like 3mm or 6mm each side of your A4 or whatever page, where you have you put some content so that it doesn't look like white space around the edges of the page. The print house I was going with couldn't actually print to those bleed marks, and started showing white space and huge gutter margins across the entire book, irrationally and not even sensibly or consistently. But there you go. So still trying to negotiate with them to try and work out what the hell they want me to do or what I need to do to actually get it compatible and get it across the line. And it's just back and forward, and it was back and forward for over a month without any actual progress on it. And again, it just got to the point where I thought, what is the point? I need a break. I needed some time off. I needed to just recharge offline. And do you want to know the God's honest truth? Other than these streams and the occasional YouTube video, most of which is just backlog stuff that's come from weeks and months ago, I'm not sitting in front of a computer pretty much at all at the moment. I've cut myself off from quite a lot of the stuff I used to do. I'm literally just sitting in the house watching telly, and I've actually got to the point of thinking I have to find something to do. So I have actually found stuff to do. I mean, you can probably see this thing sitting behind me here. This thing. This is my attempt to try to do something practical, trying to do something sensible, trying to do something that's interesting. I've also started doing a few 3D printing things. So again, actually, that's a difference. Is that I have looked at a computer in order to do 3D modelling, and try and design some 3D models, which again will probably end up being YouTube content because I am filming quite a bit of it. And I'm just trying to do physical things, and I'm finding it quite therapeutic at the minute to do things with my hands. No funny comments from the back seats. And I think that's basically why I'm getting into this sort of 3D printing and doing stuff with learning DIY and stuff. I mean, I even bought a drill. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of where the Elite Encounter stuff is at the minute. It is rumbling slowly forward. Said the hare to the tortoise. Ooh. Did you use PayPal Express? Because if so, I'll need to go in and manually validate it. Which I can do now, actually. Daftworks store. Do. I have the occasional similar day. Why wouldn't you change my login? Okay, that'll do. Woohoo, there it is. Okay, done. Mr. Gamora, it is done. And thank you very much for buying it. Very much appreciated. And again, as I say, be patient. I know I keep saying this to people who've been saying it since 2016. Be patient, things will get done. The EPUB and mobbies will get done. The DTRPG stuff will get done. The hard copies will get done. It's just, yeah, everything just seems to be a stumbling post or a block or a wall at the minute, and it'll go. I just wish it would get better. Anyway, enough of my whinging about how negative stuff is. Am I still using your web service? I think so. It's one of those things where if people haven't downloaded it from your web space yet, then they need to download it, and it's not something I can really push at the minute. If you need space back, then let me know, and I can clear out. I can try and look at clearing some of the stuff out. Just not right this minute, or not within the next few weeks or months, preferably. Because it's just another thing to add to the long list of crap that needs to get done, and I can't be arsed with more stuff to add to my to-do list. Well, thank you very much. It will come to an end at some point once I've got hold of everybody. The other thing is, I mean, I've not even mentioned the stuff about hang on. Go. Right, done. Sorry. I've not even mentioned anything about the physical stuff from the Kickstarter that still needs to go out. I mean, I've still got a box of dice, a box of boxes of dice. I've still got dice rings to go out, all that stuff. I've still got stuff from awards and charity giveaways and stuff to get posted out, and that's all sitting in a box over there. Thankfully hidden by the work in progress tool chest. But as I say, it's just getting there. We'll get there as time goes merrily on, and right, pissing myself off now. So anyway, that's enough about Elite Encounters. Elite Encounters is there. It is at a point. It is at a stage, and it's just stuff. So yeah. So what else? What else do people want to talk about? What else is going on? Why have I closed my thingy window? I haven't. It's there. There it is. So yeah, I mean, no one's in Discord. People who want to be in Discord, use that link that's there, and you can quite happily pop into Discord. I'll put the link in chat as well if anybody wants to jump into the voice room. Because I think it's working. I think I'm in the right place. So I'm in the general chat room, which is where I assume everyone pops into. No one is in any of the other rooms, so that's fine. Yeah, so my own server, not the EE room, because the EE room is not linked to this channel, as it were. Elite Encounters is essentially an independent entity. Selezen has a YouTube channel / Twitch channel / whatever else is kind of a personal thing rather than a business thing. I do push the business stuff within that, but not vice versa. So yeah, so the idea is that I'm online. I'm here to chat if anybody wants to talk about anything, whether it be games, whether it be role playing, whether it be other stuff. Yeah, you're in the chat room. You're in the general chat. The hashtag general. That's the general chat room, but it's not the general discussion room. I think you need to move yourself into that thing. Although you should have gone into the generically. I don't even know how Discord works, to be honest. There you go. That works. You just need to make sure you've got things working now so that it does actually let you talk. Ha! Well, what's that big yellow text on the screen all about then? some people just need to be led by the hand, don't they? Join me in the voice chat for a chin wag. That'll do. Fix that on the screen. Fix my video face. Nope, that's the wrong thing. God damn it! There we go. Right, lock that again. Lock that again. What the hell's that? What's that? That's fine. So, how are you, Bifford? Oh. Yeah, it's just a number. You're as old as you feel. Or you're as old as the man you feel. Whichever. Oh no, wait a minute. Yeah, I've been there for... How old am I now? 45? Hang on, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think I'm 45. Yeah, I am 45. No, I don't. Apart from the grey. Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about then? Pick a subject, any subject. Was there? Oh, bugger off then. I'll continue. I mean, that's. I wasn't going to go on about elite encounters a lot today, but kind of Gamora brought it up and made me kind of think about all that stuff that was going on. And even amongst all that crap, people are still buying it. It sold 2 on Drive-Thru RPG this week so far, which is good. Doesn't usually happen. Yeah, but it still sells, so I'm quite pleased that people are still enjoying buying it. So I suppose I could get the rest of the stuff done. But we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what prompted me to do a chat thing tonight. I was kind of looking at playing games, and I looked at my games and I thought, you know what, I can't be bothered. And I've been ill the last couple of days, and I just thought sitting trying to concentrate on playing a game and concentrating on talking to people was just too much. And I've lost the ability to talk and play games that I need to think about at the same time. So I thought, you know what, rather than focus on a game and have people sit there watching me get killed and stuff, and not having the time to sit and chat and rant about stuff, let's switch it round. Let's have a session where I'm just sitting yattering my arse off about bollocks. And I thought that's why I did the most unusual thing of opening up Discord. People, if they want to come in, bring up some subjects, or ask some direct questions, then fine. Give it a go, see what happens. It's the great experiment. Got 5 viewers, so I'm doing as well as I usually do anyway. So those of you lurking in the chat who are not, or lurking and watching, then please feel free to shout up. Use that link that's in the on the screen, or I'll shove it in chat again. Just to push it, click it, pop in, say hello. If you've got a subject you want to talk about it. If you've got a subject you want to ask me about it. If you want to voice an opinion, this is your chance to be online and on YouTube forever, because I stick all this crap on YouTube as well. It's almost like a bit of an informal, unplanned, really badly attended Ask Me Anything session, isn't it, really? Ask the Internet with Selezen Lake. So anyway, I'm going to stop faffing about with the graphics because it's starting to confuse me now. Yeah. So what's been going on then? What else has been happening in people's lives? Conventions and stuff this year have been a bit of a tricky one that I'm looking at trying to address. Not sure what I'm going to do about conventions this year. I think I've booked myself to go to Elite Meet in April, and I'm honestly thinking that's going to be it this year. LaveCon was an option again because Drew's going to LaveCon, and he actually offered to share a table so I could sell the encounters at that as well. But again, that depended on getting the book done, and that's not going to happen, at least as far as I can tell so far. So I've decided to nix that one, and it causes too many political problems, shall we say? The only way I can think of putting it at the moment. And I'm not sure what would happen or what would carry on from there, so I'm not sure whether it would be a great idea or not to go to LaveCon. Fantasticon was going to be the one that I went to this year again, but I don't know. Much as I love Dan to bits, I kind of swore to myself I was going to do one con this year, and I've kind of committed to Elite Meet now as something a bit different, trying to spread the love a little bit. So it kind of puts a question mark, especially with all the other things that are going on that kind of point in the year as well. I may not manage it to Fantasticon this year, which will be a first. It'll be the first one I've missed. But we'll see how things go on that. I'll if things brighten up, then we'll go from there. But I think just at the minute, thinking that far ahead is just, it's not really where I am in my head at the minute, thinking that far ahead. So many things to do before we get to that point in time, and yeah. So anyway, other things. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking about going to other cons as well. I am, oddly enough, booked to go to Burton Comic Con, which is a rollover from last year's Burton Comic Con booking because I couldn't make it again because of having to go to Thingy, because of having no books to sell. Hey, Prototype Gaming YT, are you a gamer? Yes, I am. I'm having a week off gaming at the moment though, because I usually do chat and gaming, and I've been playing so many games that I have to think about that I've decided to have a week off and just talk shit. About whatever. It's about games, about whatever. Games, programming, life, politics, plane crashes, which apparently is a big thing this week. Whatever. Just whatever's current, whatever's interesting, whatever people want to pop into the chat and actually talk about. So I'm sure I just saw Blind Speed pop up in the Discord there, and then he disappeared again. He ran away. He couldn't take the pressure and said, "Nope, fuck this for a game of soldiers. I'm off." And quite right too. Blind Speedy does. Yes, the grammar there is awesome from the proofreader. Off the clock now. So, well, I'm staying, says Prototype Gaming YT. Well, good for you. Well done. By all means, pop into the Discord as well. Ooh. End of life. I don't think it's going to be end of life. I think they'll keep it going in terms of keeping the servers on and keeping it alive, keeping the lights on, as it were. But I can see a big ramp down now. They've obviously I think they've got one more big update planned, and I think they want to. I actually think they're going to try and add in the things they've been promising people, and then once they've done that, they're going to say, "All right, it's time to focus on other projects now," and they're just going to keep it running, and that's it. Prototype Gaming, hello. How you doing? That well? Wow. I think. think Prototype Gaming may be having problems with the chat, with the voice. So Blind Speedy, you're not wanting to do any voice stuff then? It is quite intimidating because Bifford is a bit of a big personality. Oh. Prototype Gaming has left the building. Sorry about that. You seem to be having some problems with Discord there. It was nice to hear you beep now and again. iRacing on Xbox. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to use a car? Anyway. You better be careful it doesn't fall off then. They're not very big. Yeah. Because the image of him now sitting on like a horse whipping it. Oh, I might have to go for a cold shower now. Yes, I mean, on that, just to finish off that bit of conversation then after all that distraction with people popping in and out. I don't think Elite Dangerous is going to get the attention it's had in the past. I think they've decided not to bother this year because I think they want to spend this year focusing on the big stuff they wanted to get in, because they did say that they'd have to give it huge focus to get things like proper planetary landings and space legs and stuff like that. It would need a full ground up rewrite of some of the stuff they've done, and I think that's kind of where the focus is going to go this year. They're going to leave off these kind of important updates, focus on the two or three big things that they can put in to make it a game changing paradigm next year again. And then having achieved that, I think they'll then start ramping down support for it. They always said they had a 10-year plan. The funding they got has given them a bigger business that can focus on a lot of different things at the same time. And I think they are going to focus on the franchises and things that they're getting more money from, that they don't have to worry about different things. And I'm starting to wonder whether all this legal shenanigans that's going on is starting to put them off the idea of keeping this stuff going for much longer. I think they want to make a move away from the merchandising. Sorry, carry on. Yeah, that seems to have down a very strange road, doesn't it? I am as well, actually, and I know it's wrong to speak well of my rivals. Grr. Only kidding. Anyone who may watch this on YouTube or something later on and think they've got someone they can back up on any kind of thing against them. I love those guys. They're good guys. They did a different thing to me. Any issues I may have with their situation is completely my business. None of yours, so fuck off. But it does look a very good card game. I mean, the RPG they've done is very good. I do like the ED RPG. It's a very good game in a different way to mine. And I think what someone said that the other day. No, someone said, I read it today in the Elite Encounters Discord when I was getting this thing set up. That chap that was in there talking about it was quite kind to say that I'd hit a very different vibe to what they hit, and that both games were good games in their own sense, which I do agree with. I think EDRPG is a very good game in its own sense, but I think Elite Encounters is a very good game in its own sense, and that's not just me talking, that's based on feedback that I've had back. Mm. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because actually the kind of main focus I tried to put on character creation was that you could generate your own ship at the start of the game as well, pretty much for free, which would kind of push you down that road as well. But the interesting thing is that was my idea going into it, was that trying to keep the vibe of the original Elite, where you had your own ship and you could use it. It seems that most people who've played it or experienced it as a game have done it the other way. I know that when I've done it, I've kind of pushed that when I've done sessions myself, because I'm always running sessions that aren't particularly based around a coherent group. It's usually random sessions, random groups coming together with pre-generated characters or doing something very ad hoc, which usually ends up being me starting them off as a group rather than them starting off as a group off their own bat. But as you say, I mean, it sounds like that's the more popular way of doing it. Well, that's a bit shit, isn't it? Yeah, at 30-second intervals. Yeah. Well, I'm going to put the microphone a bit closer because I think Discord seems to have some problems picking my voice up sometimes. Just let me change the sensitivity a bit. How's that? Is that any better? I'm going to put it down to input sensitivity is now down quite low, so hopefully that should be a bit better. I don't have a lot of background noise going on, so it should be better. Yeah, Twitch and Discord have two totally separate sensitivities, so everything has its own measure for what it picks up. It's obviously taken me quite a long time to get it right in various different apps, like TeamSpeak's been the worst one. But essentially, the difference is that OBS picks it up all the time. So no matter how quiet or loud it is, the sound will always get picked up by OBS. Other applications, usually like talk on demand stuff like Discord or TeamSpeak or Skype, always have a threshold at which point they'll cut sound out and mute the mic. And I've just noticed that the one in this was quite high. Yeah. You actually find that Elite Dangerous as well. It doesn't particularly pick up your voice right very well at the very start. I actually got to the point when I was talking to people in the mic, I would actually hit the microphone first and then start talking. But it's a common thing. But anyway, it should be better now because I've put the threshold quite far down now. It should pick it up quite clearly. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I don't know if you heard what I said last time, but what I was basically commenting on was the fact that I had envisioned Elite Encounters running in the same way that you described EDRPG seems to run, which is everyone has their own ship and you use your subcutaneous communication devices to communicate with each other as if you're in the same room. But the way I've always run games has been to have people all meet up together on one ship or one facility and then split from there and go whatever way they want to go, or get a ship from someone else to do stuff with. And that seems, it's not just me that seems to do that. Everyone else I've spoken to that's played the game independently has done the same thing. Mm. Right. So it's the flexibility thing, isn't it? I mean, Elite Encounters has always been based around the flexibility side of things. So build your own future. So everything from character generation to owning a ship to everything else is do what you want to do. Whereas EDRPG, that's one thing I did hear before. It might have been from you actually. The EDRPG is very strict. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I had a similar issue with body mods. Yeah, it's a similar problem I had with body mods is if you have a body mod that can boost a stat, where do you end it? Where do you get to the point where it becomes game breaking or stat breaking or so on? Yeah. essentially I've left up to... Sorry. That's sad. But, oh well. Yeah, well, like I say, I mean, I think the card game, the battle cards game, does look very good, and I am looking forward to getting it if it ever comes out. Because it's elite stuff. It's very pretty. I like card games. It ticks all my boxes, really. Yeah, I didn't go the full hog. I think I went quite high. Obviously, I can't check. So, Drew. Wow. First Bifford, and then Drew. Royalty galore. Just need to wait for him to connect his microphone now. It's a fake Drew. I'm hoping it kind of gets itself back on track again. I'm hoping they get the problem sorted out. But the fact they've gone very, very silent with it and are not bringing out very much information makes me wonder where things are actually going. And they're being quite tight-lipped about it, which is surprising. Because initially they were quite open about saying, right, we think it's here. We should be doing blah, we should be doing blah. Oh, God almighty, I've left the bloody desktop audio off. Again. Say something. Someone. Anyone. Anyone?
Have I been speaking all this time and they haven't been able to hear me?
Apparently.
Well done.
Thank you very much, Neil ERS, for pointing that out. You have saved this channel from being yet another bunch of unprofessional wankers sitting talking to themselves.
So basically, Dave's been having a one-sided conversation, and you've been unable to hear me. That's so hilarious.
Pretty much, yeah. Sorry about that. I did the same last week as well. I forgot to turn the desktop audio on last week as well. Fucking moron. Oh dear me. Why do people not want to be? If you can't hear someone else talking, then you know it's obviously something wrong. It doesn't stop Bifford. Bifford revels in the fact of pointing out when I've done something wrong. He loves it. It makes him laugh in a maniacally evil way. But half of my streams would have been shit without Bifford pointing out I've done something wrong. I say, well, no comments on how many of my streams are actually shit, even though he has pointed out there's something wrong.
Oh, I forgot to push the press to talk button when I said that.
So, yeah, I must admit it's difficult to work out because if you've not really been here for the start of the session where I've been saying come into the chat and do some voice stuff, then yeah, it's difficult to try and work out sometimes that I'm not talking to the chat rather than talking to a voice chat. Drew, are you listening on whether either Discord or chat or whatever? If you are, then I'll try and give you a little bit of instruction if you want to try and drop in again, because it could be a number of different things. It's either your microphone's not connected, it's not thingied, or your threshold isn't as high as it should be, similar to mine, as Bifford just fixed for me. Oh God, I've been playing with a rubber O-ring and I've just realised it smells like condoms. Meh, that's horrible. Long time since I smelled that smell. No comments on the sidelines, please. But so
I won't do anymore.
Okay. Yeah, so as I say, the communication from Spider-Man was quite open at first to say that they were going to be doing this and that and the other and waiting for what was happening. And then it all seemed to go very, very quiet without a lot of updates at all. And now it seems to be Kickstarter that's playing the funny buggers. They keep on saying that they've got X amount of time to fix something out and then not actually sorting anything out. And just not moving anything forward. And from the very rare communications that I've heard so far from Spider-Mind, they just seem to be dragging their heels with it all the time. And yeah, it's still down, so still nothing on the main page about it or anything like that. So. Right, Drew is back on. So, at the bottom where it says your name, Drew, potentially you might have a user settings little cog icon. If you go into there, into voice and video, all your options are in there. So you should have input mode, voice activity, or push to talk. Now, generally you need voice activity on, because push to talk's okay as long as you're okay with pressing a button to do that. And put your input sensitivity down to about 63 decibels, minus 63 decibels, or somewhere quite low, so that it definitely picks up. You also have a full load of voice check settings you can use there, and just make sure everything's on, that you can hear yourself and so on. So it's very useful. You can go in there and check it all. Oh, he's gone again. But yeah, feel free to stick a text message in if you want to handle with it or whatever, and we'll do that. But so that's it for yeah. I'm hoping Battle Cards comes back on. I am looking forward to getting it if it's good. I would check my pledge level if I could, but obviously I can't because I can't check on the Kickstarter. I could probably check through all my emails and stuff and whatever. But I just hope it comes through. It'll get there.
Well, I know mine's the full pack with expansions and the playmat and everything.
I think I've got all the expansions. I think that's as far as I went, to the level that gave you all the expansions, and that was it. I've not gone for the playmat, I don't think. I'm curious now. I'm going to have to go and check, you bastard.
Playmat's pretty.
It is. It's all pretty. That's the thing about EDRPG, is everything about it is very, very, very pretty.
They can afford to pay the artists at the end of the day.
This is true. This is very true.
Or maybe not after the recent events.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what way that's going to go. I think, in a sense, I don't know how to really put this without potentially being offensive about it. But one of the things that worried me initially was obviously that we know exactly who's done this. We all know exactly who's done it. It's one of two people. And the first time they tried to take the EDRPG itself down, they didn't follow anything up, and it just ended up being a delay that was just an inconvenience more than anything else. And then when they did it again with the Battle Cards game, my opinion on that was, well, for fuck's sake, we know who you are, we know why you're doing it, we know what the purpose is. If you're just going to do the same thing again that you did with EDRPG, cause a delay and then not say anything back, which seemed to be the way it was going, then you're a spineless goon. If you're going to do something like this, then at least follow up with the evidence you say you've got and actually move it forward. Get an answer to the questions that everybody keeps on having to do this.
Kickstarter needs to get their acting gear and actually realise that and admit that they were wrong to take it down and back down.
I don't know if it was wrong. I mean, they have to follow the rules they've got. They have to follow the legal IP procedures for whatever they have on their site, or else they put themselves in problems.
Oh god, yeah. But once it's been proven that it's the same person doing the same thing as they've done before, and that came to nothing, they should just...
Not necessarily, because if it's the same people doing the same thing but with different set of evidence, then they have to allow it to be investigated. So they have to. There is a legal requirement, especially with it being a United States-based company, where they have to give the legalities in the IP time to be checked.
And to the best of my knowledge, from what they've said,
sorry.
Yeah, from what they've said, that was done a long time ago.
Well, it got to a certain point where they're given a certain amount of time to submit the evidence that they have. And what the last thing that EDRPG guys said about the Battle Cards situation was that it was there was 10 days left of that period, and nothing had been received. And if nothing was received within that 10-day period, then Kickstarter would put the stuff back online again. So the only thing I can assume, based on the fact that it hasn't come back online, is that whoever it is, and we know exactly who you are, has actually submitted the evidence they have, and that's what's making it a difficult situation. So obviously we're not going to know what's going on.
The
only
last
they know what's
messages,
going
I mean,
on.
because
So.
you get the personal messages, and they certainly haven't said that they've submitted anything. But I don't know. Good luck to them, is what I say.
Yeah,
it's all a bit of a foobar.
It is. I think it's just one of those things where I just want them to get it sorted. You've just backed Elite Dangerous Battle Cards, right? What did I back? I pledged £50 for Battle Cards Season 1 box set. Starter set, all 3 of the expansion packs. Hard-backed 6-fold battle map, game counters, 24 dice, rules booklet. So that's it. That's what I've got. So, which is cool. That's just
mine was the £50 set.
So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. If it ever comes, which I'm sure it will. I just hope we get a decent amount of notice, because it only had something like 4 or 5 days left on the clock when it was taken off. And that's what worries me, is that if it jumps back in at the wrong time in the month and £50 suddenly vanishes, it's like, Ugh!
Exactly my thoughts.
But we'll see. In the meantime, there's a lot of other decent things out there that I'm jumping into. Steve Jackson did a.
At the gate.
Sorry. What was that? Befford, what did you just say?
I said Luna's Fangs at the Gates for Exalted is my next one that's due to run out tomorrow.
Ooh. No clue. Well, 2 I've gone for at the minute are... Let me see. Pocket Box Games was one of them. That was the Steve Jackson games are resurrecting their pocket games of the 80s, so things like Car Wars and all those classic games. They're bringing them all back, and I'm quite excited about that one, because I've always wanted a copy of Car Wars, and I was gutted when it was out of stock or out of print. And the other one is Dragonlock Miniatures. Dragonlock 3D printable miniatures.
Saw about those.
So yeah, quite happy with the Dragonlock ones. It's not been too much money for what is essentially a humongous set of designed miniatures. Which okay, I've got to print off myself, but still, 70 odd different models that I can print off my 3D printer. Apparently without supports and apparently without any cleanup required. Not bad.
Just scanning through my pledges, what's your take on the Elite Archives book?
The Elite Archives book, I am actually involved with trying to help the guy out, although I have kind of slipped on that one as well, because I'm supposed to be doing one of the interviews for him. The issue is that Anthony is a little bit ill at the minute. When I say a little bit, I mean quite seriously ill at the minute. Physically, not mentally, but he has some major league physical issues that are actually stopping him from sitting in front of a computer at the moment. But I think it's one of those things that he is champing at the bit to get going again with it. Last time I spoke to him was over 6 months ago, and he was kind of frustrated at the fact that he wanted to get moving with things, but just so many things going on, he just cannot even think about doing it just now.
I tried to champion it in the comments and everything and keep positive, but there were so many comments about one of his other Kickstarters that came after and has had updates that it's just like, what can you say?
Really?
Or am I thinking of someone else? Hold on. Let me check my facts on that one.
I think Dante's only done one.
Yeah, the Mastertronic Archives was the other project. But yeah, Steph posted a post 19 days ago. tell you what, if you're after some little board games which are quite cheap but are very good to play, look up Magic Meeple games. They do little N64 box games that are pretty damn cool.
So how do you know this Mastertronic Archives is Anthony again?
Yeah.
Where does it say his name? Ah, there we go.
Neo, do you mean you've never played an RPG before, just not a space game?
Interesting.
Do you want me to post my video, even though it's crap sound? Although you've got your ones that you could post links to, I guess.
You mean?
That would make more sense.
Yeah, I can do. There's the stuff that we all did together, and there's the one that I did with the guys from the Sovereignty.
Yeah. Stick some links in.
Hang on, let me get the playlist link. Still quite sad that kind of fell by the wayside. I know it was kind of plodding along in a very, very random way, but it was fun.
The ones that I listened to I enjoyed, but it was just at such a family-centric time of the day on a Sunday, it just didn't work for me to listen constantly.
That's fine. I know where we stand.
Ah, he's already watched those.
Nah, watch the ones that you and DJ did. That's fine. I'll stick the link in anyway. The playlist that I've linked to, I think, has all of the different sessions that I've done, not just the Ascended ones. I think it's got the other ones as well. Or does it? Actually, it might not. No, I'm looking at it. Because that would be sensible, wouldn't it? Actually doing that. Actually making a playlist for them. Let's go back in time. Back in time. That's why I've not... No, I've just realised it's on James Vigor's channel. Sorry everyone who's listening to this and not really seeing anything interesting going on.
Dave, I've got some characters that I knocked up for my game. Do you want me to provide you a copy so that you can kind of shove some pre-gens somewhere?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because I don't think I've seen any pre-gens, but it might just be handy for people to be able to download some examples.
There's a few pre-gen examples in the book, but not anything particularly advanced. But yeah, it's one of the. There's kind of an idea I wanted to do. If I can ever clear my feet of the crap that needs to get finished for the Kickstarter, there's a couple that I wanted to do. Like a Lost Missions pack, which would be an unofficial kind of free add-on, free expansion thing. Which is one of the things I was trying to talk to Frontier about in terms of licensing, to say that if I do provide something like that as a free add-on, without charging any money for it, and say plaster all over it that it's a free fan fiction thing, would it be okay to stick it on drive-through or stick it on my site or something like that? Never ever got an answer about it. I never even got a reply.
Quelle surprise.
I sometimes wonder if they do, when they do that, if they're actually just not responding so that they can leave it as a grey area. Because I kind of got the impression sometimes when you ask that sort of question, especially with Mr. Brooks in days gone by, that if he was to be forced to provide an answer, he would have to give the company a line as being, no, anything that involves our IP is our IP and we can't say anything, and you can't do it. But if they don't actually give you an official line on it, then they can just turn a blind eye, which is what they've essentially done for the last 20 years anyway. Until people like Mr. Bell and Mr. Jordan come along and start doing stuff like they do. And I think this is one of the things, this is kind of what brought us that original question about Elite Dangerous and the way it's going in merchandising. Is I think the issue with Mr. Bell and Mr. Jordan has actually started to make them think, right, it's not worth the effort to put our name to added media for Elite, and it's causing problems. And I'm kind of wondering whether whether Frontier are kind of starting to say, right, okay, let's try and get this sorted out once and for all. That's why nothing's really being said about it and why they've put their legal team on the case, trying to get an answer and try and get it sorted out once and for all. But obviously they're not going to tell us those kind of things. But it's kind of where I'm thinking it may go. So it's kind of where I would like to do a Lost Missions book, and that the idea is to put some of the two missing scenarios, sample scenarios that I had to cut from the book, that would go in there, and some sample characters. Obviously, the new ships that are now out. I'd stick them in there as updates, so more posters, more cards, more counters, more designs, more stuff to put in. And obviously put in a few bits of updated stuff about the ongoing situation with the Thargoids, just to bring it up to date, but do that for free. So yeah, if you have any,
you've got several alien species now, I guess, with more info in.
Well, there's at least 3, isn't there? Well, there's 2 different casts of Thargoids, and there's the Guardians. That's all I can think of at the minute. Yeah, I think that's all there is just now. But yeah, so I mean, that's stuff I can stick in. It'll allow me to expand the Thargoid section from where it currently is, i.e. a paragraph of we don't know shit. That's all I was allowed to stick in.
Where I am for proofreading, editing.
Thank you for that. But yeah, as I say, that's going to be the way things are at the minute. That's a long time in the future before I can get around to getting that done.
Unredacted, unofficial histories.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That. So let's say Drew's buggered off then. He's still on the list of people
obviously
in chat.
My dulcet tones have scared him off.
Yeah. But yeah, so. Yeah. I keep saying yeah. I've noticed when I'm doing these kind of things. That's kind of worrying.
Yeah.
So I hate it when people start off a sentence with "so," and I'm sitting listening to myself for the last hour, going yeah, and yeah, and yeah.
It's a typical padder. Well. It's so they can collect their thoughts.
Yeah. But so one of the other things I've been kind of thinking about doing in terms of the Elite stuff. No, I'm not going to say that. Yes, I am actually. Fuck it, I'll say it. One of the options I've been thinking about in terms of trying to get the book out is actually investing in getting the stuff for doing printing myself. Not entirely sure where that's going to go, but it actually isn't that much of an investment to get the kit to do it. The thermal binding machine that would be enough to put the book in is actually fairly cheap. It's sub £100. It would then just be a matter of getting something that can do the cutting, because I'm not going to sit and cut out 300 pages with fucking scissors, I'll tell you that much. So some kind of die cutting machine that has an A4 platform on it would probably be the biggest problem, and then obviously a printer that's good enough to do A3 sheets, as well as decent quality, and then obviously the stuff behind it. But I mean, I think realistically the cost behind that would be prohibitive. But if I can even just, because the thing is, if I can get that and just churn out one a month, that's still more than I'm doing now. And at least it would get the Kickstarter stuff sorted out. Then it would leave me the ability to free up that time and that money to get the rest of the stuff done and get like a proper set of books I can take to a convention or something. Hello.
I take it talking to Graham of Orion never came to anything in that regards?
No. He was completely unhelpful.
He's a busy man, bless him, so it probably more a case of just didn't have the time to help, but yeah.
It didn't seem to, but when he sent his reply, it didn't seem to be more, I haven't got the time, says, no, we can't do that.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Can't give you any advice on that whatsoever.
What and who he uses. I know he does drive through, print on demand, but other than that, I don't know who else he's used.
Yeah, I mean, I've done quite a lot of research into it and trying to get different people. I've emailed about seven or eight different bulk publishers or bulk producers, and they all say the same thing. You need at least 1,000. Usually 3,000 is the hot number before they'll actually even consider taking you on as a customer. And it's like, I have no way that I can shift 3,000 copies or even invest in 3,000 copies to sell at this point in time. Not without significant pre-orders. Hey ho! Silence. Awkward silences, don't you just love them?
When you're listening to the Onyx Path podcast, they have a little song. Awkward silence song. Awkward silence song.
Nice. I'll tell you something I completely forgot. I was actually signed up to do an appearance on a podcast. What was it called? Oh God, I can't remember what it was called now. I get an email about it every Sunday morning at ridiculous o'clock in the morning, to say that their podcast, that their vidcast has started on Twitch. I can't think what it is now.
The podcast that I like listening to is the Immaculate Chaos, which is an exalted one. The Lovecraft tapes is a really good Lovecraft one. The Onyx Podcast and the Infinite Monkey Cage.
I'm not a big podcaster, I have to say.
I
know that pretty much what I'm doing right now is a podcast, ironically.
Yeah, exactly. I've started listening to them on the way to and from work because the radio's a bit boring at times.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hate the radio. I haven't listened to the radio for, oh my God,
I do love the radio, but sometimes Chris Evans is a bit too banal with his chatting. So
sometimes?
I switch off. I like him, but sometimes he just witters. A bit like me.
I know. I honestly can't stand Chris Evans. Never liked the ginger twat. From a,
I think he's right.
I listened to him. No, I'm not going to say I've never liked him. When he first started doing Virgin Radio, he was okay, but then when he bought Virgin Radio, he was a twat.
Where he is now.
Yeah, I know he is. Yeah. And then when he was, I've never ever listened to him on Radio 2 or Radio 1 or anything like that because he was such a twat on Virgin Radio before he left that I just thought, nah, I don't want to listen to you ever again. You're an obnoxious, egotistical sod, and I've got enough of them in my life without listening to you.
He's back on Virgin now, but it's basically the same as the BBC Two, but with no ads.
Yeah, well, it's Chris Evans, so it doesn't interest me in the slightest. It's also one reason why I vowed I'd never ever watch Top Gear again while he was on it, because he was on it. But now he's gone, and it's still shit. But no, I've never been that into the radio, because I like to have control over what I'm listening to, and 9 times I have an eclectic music taste that is wide-ranging, but it's eclectic, so it's not mainstream stuff that you'd find on the radio. So it's very, very rare that I'll find a radio channel that will play the stuff that I like. And I don't want to be sitting in a car trapped with music I don't like. Well, I've started listening to audio novels now. I'm having a break from my eclectic music taste, and I'm doing audio novels.
Which is pretty much the same as those podcasts that I've been listening to.
Guard Frequency, that's it. Guard Frequency, that's the podcast I've been invited onto, and I never got back to them.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a gaming company that runs it, or a gaming review company, like an online magazine that runs it. And Guard Frequency is their kind of online gaming podcast / online gaming session that they run. Yeah, and I said I'd get back to them when I had some free time to go on the thing, and I never have, and that was like 4 years ago, just after the game was released. But yeah, so I'll eventually get around to doing that, hopefully. But there you go. Yeah, so I'll say it again, like they always do in the world of radio. If you're out there listening and you want to pop on and say stuff, then there's a link in the chat. No, there isn't, because that's not the right link. Hang on, let me find the right link, then I'll put it in chat again. If Bifford beats me to it, I'll punch him in the legs. There we go. Oh, so yeah, I beat you to it, so did you. I seem to have angered Donald Duck. But yes, if you've got anything you want to talk about, then pop into the chat. I assume you can get it working, unlike Mr. Drew, who doesn't seem to be able to get chat to work either. There you go. But I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you are, let me know. If you aren't, let me know. If you don't give a shit, let me know. If you don't give a shit to let me know, then don't let me know. I don't care.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we know. We knew that for a while. And yeah, so what I'm doing a chat session this evening just to bring you up to speed, because couldn't think of what game to play, and my main thing is that I've been playing a lot of games lately that involve a lot of thinking, so you're all having to sit there and watch me play a game without really knowing what I'm doing, and I'm just not doing anything and saying anything, and I'm just generally getting killed and swearing at everybody. So I thought I'll switch it about this week, and rather than sit and watch me play a game and not listen to me talk, you now have to listen to me talk. You're my captive audience, who I have by the ears.
We need a rant.
Need a rant. Well, give me a subject. I have actually, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I actually sat here tonight and I did this is because there's so much shit going on this week that has annoyed me. And I even opened up the option of politics as a potential for discussion.
No.
Yeah, I know. And I've said that twice on stream so far. No one's jumped at it. Because obviously there's the one big thing that's...
How about the naming of Big Strong Winds?
Oh, don't get me fucking started on that. The last thing you want to start doing is personalising fucking storms. Anthropomorphizing wind.
I I was stood in that wind this morning waiting for someone to turn up for a viewing to see a house who never bloody turned up, and I was there for 15-20 minutes in the wind with the rain hitting me sideways. Not fun. Cold.
Yeah,
wet.
This one's called Gareth, isn't it? There's a guy at work called Gareth. And I just think it's dangerous to do that kind of thing. Because then if you've got somebody that you know who has the same name as the storm that just stole your dog or something like that, then you're going to go up to that guy and say, "Fuck you, Gareth, you're an arsehole." Hey, what? You and your wind. Anyway, you'd as well naming farts. So I had Fart Josephine this morning, and it was bloody good. Can anyone smell Fart Frederick? It's an Americanism, isn't it? It's another one of those bloody Americanisms. And I'm sorry if anybody's American, but Americans are very touchy-feely and want to personalise everything. And this is where I think it's come from, because we just so much want to be touchy-feely, but we aren't touchy-feely. So we think the best thing we can do is name a storm. We have loads of storms, and that's what we'll do. We should name storms, because that'll make them easy to understand, and we can get on with them and invite them in for a cup of tea. No, fuck you, English people. That's a stupid idea. It's wind and rain and things spitting on your arse, making you skid in the snow. Who wants to give it a fucking name? If you give it a name, it just makes me want to smack it more. Anyway, so we have had a question.
What have I started?
Moving on from talking wind. Neo ERS. Dare I ask your views on Elite's update plans? Well, we kind of touched on that earlier, didn't we? We kind of talked a little bit about your question, Bifford, about whether or not Elite's going to carry on after 2020, or whether Frontier's going to basically turn it off and it'll go dark.
That might have been why they couldn't hear me, though.
It might have been, yes, because Dipstick here forgot to turn the sound on and Neo IRS pointed it out. Alright then, let's go a little bit deeper into my views on it then, because that's a slightly different topic, is how I feel about the fact they're doing that. I'm ambivalent about it. I think it depends on what they're doing. So is Mr. Drew Mr. Wagar? Yes, he is. He's lurking about in the chat. I just don't think he's brave enough to say anything now, because he's made himself look silly by not being able to speak. Anyway, sorry Drew if you're listening, I just couldn't resist it. So for anyone who doesn't know, and I think everyone here is an Elite person, so we'll probably know about it already, but anyone on YouTube who watches this and has got this far without throwing stuff at the television or the computer, Elite Dangerous is not going to be updated at all this year. In terms of major updates, it's going to have progressive updates, it's going to have gameplay updates, it's going to have maintenance updates, that kind of thing, but no major content addition, no major things are going to get added, no game changing stuff is going to get stuffed in there. And they're going to focus on development of a new big update that will come sometime in 2020. So, how do I feel about that? In one extent I think it's a good thing, because it's going to allow the development team to focus on a few of the bigger things they've said they want to implement. So my long story short, too long didn't read disclaimer is that as long as they're working on planetary landings, atmospheric planets and space legs, then they can do it. I don't really mind. It's fine. As long as we get something major added to the game that people actually want, that people have been crying out for 3 years, if the focus is on giving us what they actually promised us in the Kickstarter, then I'm fully behind that concept, and I look forward to 2020 with bated breath, and no need to spend anything on my wallet for at least one of my accounts. I think the gameplay in Elite Dangerous is good enough as it is. I think they need to put the stuff in they said they were going to put in, or people are going to start to revolt. They're all revolting anyway at the moment, so that's fine. But you're never going to please the internet, are you? You're never going to please everybody. Whereas I can sit here quite happily with my beard and say, I want space legs. If I get space legs, I'll be happy, and I will never be happy unless I get my space legs. There are going to be other people on the internet.
Calling everyone who plays Elite Dangerous that they're revolting is a bit rude. You know, some of them might just be a bit unclean.
Well, they can go and stand in the fucking named wins, can't they, get clean? But there are people on the internet who will also say, I don't give a shit about space legs. I want this, I want that. Mining was a quality of life update and that was a game changer. Well, it wasn't really. I don't know. I mean, I do like the new mining changes, but it's just more grind, isn't it? It's more of the same kind of mechanic thrown in, but with a better financial reward at the end of it than what you're usually getting. I mean, I'll admit I've used mining quite well since it was changed, and deep core mining has stood me a very good profit, thank you very much, on both of my accounts. I just wish I could throw some of that money at my PlayStation 4 pilot, who at the moment can't afford to buy anything other than a Sidewinder, so he can't afford anything that'll do any mining. And I can't remember how to get him that far. But yeah, it's just it's another iteration of the same mechanic, just with different pretty things to use to get that mechanic. And I think the mining change was touted as being a huge, great big fundamental change to the mining, and it ended up being almost broken in my opinion, because I don't know if anybody watches any of the stuff that I actually do on stream, but when I've done the mining, I've commented a few times on how difficult it is to work out what you're actually looking at when you're looking at all the different asteroids. So when you use that pulse wave scanner to try and look at what the asteroids contain, there's no consistency in what the asteroid looks like and what it contains. So how are you supposed to work out? And it ends up then being guesswork. You're basically firing off your little limpets at stuff to try and scan it based on what worked before. So one asteroid came up as bright as day with nothing on it, with a couple of craters. You spit your limpet at it, and it scans it, and you've got all your little pockets of stuff that you can mine, and you're like, yay, quits in, millions of credits for me. You go and mine that asteroid, you go off somewhere else, you see another asteroid with identical markings, identical reflectivity, an identical set of little things, and you ejaculate your limpet at it, and it's got fuck all. Oxygen and water. And there's no consistency. Sorry, I sympathise for the guy for Dano the Goat, but I don't tend to do that kind of thing, I'm afraid. Yeah, emotional blackmail statements don't really entice me much. So, yeah, so I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% back. Yeah. I think that's a bit too far. Nah, just leave it. It's probably just a spam thing anyway. I don't want to get a reputation as being a hard-nosed cunt, you know, any more than I already have. So, yeah, I see what I did on the stream. Woo! Awesome. I was going to say, we really have to market as mature content now. So yeah, I mean, the mining stuff, I'm not 100% thinking they've got it right. I think they have done something very, very good, and it's very rewarding when you actually get the stuff you need to get. But in terms of consistency and how well it was potentially put together, unless I'm missing something extremely obvious in what you're looking for in it, then I think they've kind of missed something. Yeah, that's the other thing. The carriers. No, in answer to your question, we have not heard anything about the carriers. So there's been a few comments made about that they have not been mentioned as anything coming this year, or even as part of what's happening in 2020. And as far as I'm aware, although I will admit to everyone, I'm not fully in the loop with when it comes to what Frontier are doing or saying these days. For that, you want the sovereignty, because they're apparently so far up Frontier's bottom they can't see daylight anymore. As far as I'm aware, they have not mentioned anything at all about the carriers, so they've been mysteriously quiet about it, and that worries me to an extent. I think I'm getting the impression, and I think a lot of people get the same impression based on lack of information and lack of willingness to talk about something, that they may have bitten off more than they can chew with that mechanic, and they can't actually do it, and that may be what's maybe pushing them towards doing these big internal let's get focused on the system updates. There's something fundamental within the code that they've gone so far down the road of it and said, shit, we can't actually do this. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I think it's the instancing. I think they'll run up against a brick wall in terms of how the instancing will work alongside carriers that are meant to be carrying other players alongside them to either travel to places or be the hub of activity for respawning. So how are you going to handle respawning if your instancing code can't actually handle respawning back into the same session, which we know it can? So that's my take on the carrier thing anyway. I haven't seen anything. I said they were getting pushed back from mining update to this year, but I haven't seen anything more. I'd love to see them, but also understand them holding it back. They want to get it right. Yeah, that's what they should do. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else to happen. If they haven't got the technical ability to get it right at the moment, they have to do more work in it. Then it's best to do that. What always puzzles me with Frontier is that they don't communicate that, and it's always been the problem I've found since day one of being involved with Frontier to any extreme, is that they don't communicate honestly about what's actually going on. Even though, in my opinion, as a layman sitting back here, that you have. So I've lost track of what I was saying there.
Honesty in updates.
Honesty in updates, yeah. I don't see from my humble point of view why information like that wouldn't be valuable to us, and why it would be dangerous to tell us that kind of stuff, because it seems to be the impression they put across, is that telling us that stuff would be dangerous to them. Is it going to compromise their IP? Is it going to compromise their updates? Is it going to compromise their content? Is it going to compromise what they're actually doing? I can't see how it would, because we're just fans. We're just sitting here playing the game. Telling us what they're actually planning, like every other company generally tends to do, seems to come very, very harsh with them. I'm not sure why. That could be an issue, but they manage with the Gnosis to transfer people around. Is that likely? But I think that's a different kettle of fish. With the Gnosis, you're not really looking at 100% focused on the instancing to make sure you've got a consistent group. With the Gnosis, and I think everything else that happens with this kind of thing, even when you're using a station as a hub, you can respawn in a different session at the same location in the Gnosis if something's going on, and at a station when something's going on, and it's not that important. It's just a thing. It's just something. Oh, it's a bit of an inconvenience. We'll log out, log back in again. It's fine. But with something like, if you're in a close quarters battle and you're using a carrier as your hub of operations, and you have a specific group of players that you have hand-picked to come with you in your group, and they don't respawn in your group again, that's a significant problem, more so than it is with things like the Gnosis. May also be a problem with the carriage having a bypass to the permits, either it's a jump range thing or something like it. I think that's maybe one of the issues could be not related to getting into the areas where there is a permit lock. I think the way that the navigation works, where there are problems getting navigation around the areas that are permit locked, could be an issue. Don't honestly know how much more it would affect how the carriers. Do the carriers tend to have a bypass of the permits? I actually just thought the carriers themselves would be subject to the same rules as the players. I kind of talked myself into a standstill there, didn't I? That was nice. But no, I think I don't know. It could be. It's certainly a valid reason. It could be anything, and this is the problem. We've got mass uncontrolled speculation at the moment about why things have been delayed, why things have been paused, why things aren't happening, and until Frontier actually come out and admit to what's going on and actually tell us what the situation is and give us a kind of idea what's happening, then I don't know. No one will know. It'll just be guesswork unless we've got somebody on the inside, cough cough Graham, who can let us know what's going on. Not that Graham would. He's a very closed-lipped person. Basically, I'm thinking it's using the same sort of jump tech that Jake's and the battleships are using. I actually don't think they are, because from what is that what they said they were going to do? Because I seem to remember when they were touting them at Frontier Expo, the kind of hint was that they would use the same restrictions as player ships. So any, like your long range player ships or whatever. So any of your big carrier, not your big carriers, but your big cruisers. So your Federal Corvette and Imperial Cutter, things of that kind of size. would be the restriction on it. And breathe. Quite out of breath now after that. I'm thinking of using the same sort of jump tech that Jake and the Battleship was using. I don't think it'll be that fast, but honest Gamora, they will have bigger range than our ships, but I don't think it'll be like that, or they'll be the same as the Gnosis. Well, the carriers, are they actually player controlled? So is a commander actually in charge of the carrier? This is the thing I don't remember, the specific part I don't remember. Are they in charge of the carrier? Do they actually fly the carrier? Or is the carrier essentially flown by an NPC, but under the command of the player? So the ship is basically a ship that you don't have access to update anything, but it's there and you can use it. Player controlled. Oh, maybe that is some of the problem then. Maybe they haven't actually managed to balance it properly, and they're having to rethink how they balance it. Because if that's the case, if the player's in control, it'd be a player ship that in theory would not be dockable at a space station. So it's too big for a space station docking sled. It would then need its own set of shipyard equipment, its own set of hard points, its own set of equipment slots, its own equipment more than anything else. If it was player controlled, it'd have its own handling, it'd have all the internal stuff sorted out. I don't know. Didn't say if it worked with the Gnosis select a place in Frontier and move it, or if we actually do it. That's a lot of work for Frontier to do if they've got like X amount of players trying to move their ships. Whoa. That's a very good point. Well, that's my assumption, Neo ARS. I thought a carrier was going to be kind of small, capital size, like smaller than Farragut class, but of that nature. I never even thought of it that way, Gamora. Like actually, the Gnosis issue. See, I don't know. Even that goes off to one side because it all depends on how they were going to control it. Like Neo ERS said, if it's a matter of a player or a player group saying, right, this is our ship, we want to move to here. I mean, the simple answer for Frontier to do is say, well, no, you can't go there, and that's it. Problem solved. Frontier have been known in the past to not wrap any lore around something. They did it with the Gnosis because it was a mistake they'd already made, was to say that you could do this, and then they couldn't cancel it. And for gameplay reasons, they were convinced to try and do it in a bit of a collaborative way. But I think if they were going to put carrier ships in and people say, can you take me to this uncharted system, or can you take me to this locked system, they would just say, well, no, we can't because it's locked. You're not allowed to go there. There's no problem about it. They don't have to give a gameplay reason. They don't have to give an excuse for something. If they make a decision, they can say, oh, because we said you can't. And the permit locked or inaccessible system concept is a simple one to police. It's like they've just left it off the map, or it's on the map but you can't navigate to it. The clue is in the map. If it says you can't go there, you can't go there. So I can't see why they would use that as a potential reason to block the update. I actually honestly think that they've reached a problem with the instancing. That's my take on it. The most likely thing I can think of is that the instancing has proved to be a problem. And to be honest, instancing's been crap since day one. And it's the one thing in terms of quality of life improvements that they need to make on the game. Well, the locked systems. Now that was an interesting one back in the day. Because the reasons given for the locked systems being locked was that they were narratively important. So they were, the inference there being that they were going to become relevant later on as the story progressed. Now I think the story has been slightly compromised, and I think the more it progresses, the more that kind of stuff's going to come out. I mean, I know we're looking at a lot of the locked systems are in areas that are now becoming a bit more focused on in terms of the story, in terms of the events that are happening. But I don't think Frontier will give us any more indication of what's going on until such time as that stuff happens. Because I know there's supposed to be 3 different areas. There's one where the Thargoids are meant to have come from in the first place. There's one where we were meant to have encountered the Thargoids the first time, and there's one where we did something strange. And there may be like different locked off areas that they've got ideas for different alien races. I mean, I don't know what they're planning. And in terms of their story and their plan, we just need to wait for that to happen. I think this is the problem that Frontier set themselves by giving you the entire galaxy to explore almost unrestricted, and then underestimating the ability of the players to actually find all the stuff there is to find within a very short amount of time.
But we still only found 0.0746%, I think it is.
Something like that, yeah. It was in one of the trade papers the other day about how much has actually been explored, and it was about that. But this is the thing. Even though there's been such a small percentage explored, we seem to have managed to find everything that needs to give Frontier questions about. See, progressing the lore side of things, but if it's not possible yet, I'd rather know. You guys know about me and lore and my opinions on lore, and if you want me to start ranting about stuff, then start talking about lore. Because I always have and I always will see Elite Dangerous as a wasted opportunity in terms of storylines and in terms of lore, in terms of background population. They've created a very empty universe with bugger all going on, apart from one ongoing story plot. Everything else that's happening is player created. So the whole thing with Jake's station was primarily player created. So that's what created Colonia. That is a player created event. All the distant world stuff that gets in the press, that's all player generated. The fuel rats, and all that kind of stuff. It just all plods along very, very slowly. And as Gamora has just said, 3 years or so on ready to go, but haven't even covered the stuff that's been found at the end of the first year. But they have an issue between balancing what needs to be player controlled and what needs to be driven on a timescale. And what they're trying to do is make everything player driven. They're not progressing anything along as it needs to be. They need a player to be at the forefront of doing that work before they're willing to start moving it forward. And they need to stop doing that. They need to move it forward in terms of a timeline to do what needs to get done and get to a certain point by a certain point. Because the story is plodding along and people are getting bored and moving away from it and doing different things. The only person I've seen online that does anything even close to looking into the storylines and covering it, but he's having to cover it again and again and again and again because of the slow snail's pace that's coming out there, is Malik. I know people don't like Malik anymore, but I do. I happen to think he's one of the best streamers and one of the best players of the game that I've seen, because he looks into the science and the background and he's really focused on the lore. I mean, a lot of people, and I know Mr. DJ Truthsayer takes credit for this idea, but I'm still adamant I came up with it first, was the kicking us out of the bubble thing. I mean, that looks like what is going to happen. It has looked like what's going to happen for the last year and a half. And what I don't understand is there's some subtleties to the storytelling that people don't seem to have noticed, and that is, I don't know if you guys have noticed this or heard me rant about this before, is that basically you have all that work that was done by the Thargoids right at the very start, when all the alien items were found in space, all your unknown items and your alien items were found in space floating around, pointing at things and giving off signals and giving off codes. Especially Morse code was one of the ones that was found, which was bizarre. And you think, okay, in theory the Thargoids have actually spent a lot of time and effort learning our codes, learning our language, learning how we speak, learning how we do things, and pushing these probes at us, giving us clues, probing. The clues in the name, probing us to find out about us. right, in a covert and overtly peaceful way. Covert meaning they're doing it kind of on the quiet, but overtly peaceful in that they aren't trying to push attacks at us. And then there's all this other stuff that was going on. So there's the mapping, there's all the different signals that we're finding, there's all the different stuff going on. They're trying to find out about us, but they're doing it in a peaceful, investigative, intelligent way. And all then, of course, the shit hits the fan, stations are getting destroyed, ships are getting destroyed, blah 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 blah. But at no point, whether it's because of the way that the mechanic runs or whether it's because of the way the lore's meant to run, no one has seen a first contact situation between a Federal ship or a human ship and a Thargoid ship with a Thargoid firing first, up until the point where the bloody Federals, we had that video that came out where the Federal ship attacked the Thargoid ship using their fancy new technology. That was the point where they started to become hostile towards us. Up until that point, they'd been quite peaceful. So the lore, I think, goes in the fact that we could have had peaceful relations with the Thargoids, but the Federals and the Imperials and whoever else is involved in this whole situation got together and says, we're going to take the offensive, and took the fight to the Thargoids. And now, all people can think about is attacking the Thargoids to save themselves. So, where was the lore meant to go? Where were the options there? And if there were other options, how were they communicated? Now, the player base for a game like this is always going to be on the side of the action resolution. So if there's an attack mechanism or there's a diplomatic mechanism, the majority of people on an online gaming system, because of the very nature of that of the internet and the world at large, is that you will take the I can beat these. They'll take it as a challenge into combat rather than a challenge in diplomacy. Well, that's it. That's another argument I was going to come to, is the station attacks. We've never seen. See, it kind of links into what I was saying before, but the Thargoids have never been witnessed actually attacking somebody overtly. When you come across a Thargoid in space at random, they will scan you, or they will disable you, then scan you, then fly off. Now, they've scanned and flown off from thousands of different ships over the last God knows how long, but they still do it. And they still know who you are, and as long as you don't act in a threatening way towards them, they'll leave you alone. Which to me is the big hint that they're not hostile. Which is why I'm firmly in the camp of save the alien. So the thing that you have to kind of look at is, if you're offering that choice between let the players kill everything or let the players think things through, and again this comes into the way that I designed Elite Encounters as well, which are you going to make the easier option? Which are you going to make the more rewarding option? Now to me, and this is the philosophy of Elite Encounters' system as well, the diplomatic option that avoids the fight, so you've got diplomacy and fighting, the diplomatic option or the actual intellectual option, so thinking your way through a problem rather than shooting at it, is the way that you can improve a story and push a story forward. That gives you a motivation, it gives you personality, it gives you a three-dimensional character to the Thargoids, it gives you a three-dimensional character to the humans as well, because they're not just shooty. But unfortunately in Elite, because again you don't have the space legs aspect to it, it's an impersonal game. You are personified by a spacecraft, even though you have your Holo-Me. The name there is impersonal as well. Holo-Me. It's a holographic representation of yourself. It's not a person. At least in the game sense. I know it's not really a person anyway. But then you've got, how do you interact with the world around you? So if you have something you need to do in that world, or something you need to do in that environment, what do? The only thing you can do at the moment from your ship is shoot at it or scan it. Scanning something gives you information. Shooting at stuff gives you information. So all the stuff interacting with the Guardians, you have to shoot at stuff. You have to shoot one of their bits of equipment to get stuff off it to do something else. That to me doesn't work. And I think it's a limitation of the mechanic. If space legs had been brought in, if people were in the game, if you could wander around on your ship, you could leave your ship and go and actually personally interact with stuff, it opens up a whole new world, a whole new mechanic of how to do things in that universe.
Completely agree about having to shoot the targets to get stuff. That is just dumb.
It's lazy programming, it's lazy game design, it's lazy lore as well. It's just lazy. And it's one of those things where I think a lot of this stuff wasn't thought out up front. I think all they were really worried about was getting Elite out into the market, rolling on the back of the Kickstarter and trying to make it a Twitch game. Not a Twitch game as in a Twitch streaming game, but a Twitch game as in Twitch reactions, that kind of stuff. Get it out there to the mass market, please the old fans and make sure you got all the old content in, but not really expand it enough, or not really add in enough to give you the hooks to do the things you need to do as part of an ongoing developing storyline. And the fact that everything lore related, everything story related, and everything that progresses things like community goals and encounters and Thargoid stories and all that kind of stuff is all manually programmed, not based on automatic progression of a plot, which can even be done in Elite, for crying out loud, is what's holding them back. There's no pre-programmed missions, series of events. It's kind of getting there now. They're starting to put that kind of stuff in there, but the framework behind it still kind of lacks. I am starting to really dry up now. My throat's as dry as Theresa May's after getting a vouch kicked out of court. And the odd Thargoids out of the Scouts, but several of us suspect they're just like Guardian drones pre-programmed by machines following 50-year-old programming. See, I don't know much about the Scouts. They seem to be a slightly different side of the Thargoid thing. But the thing is, they only appeared after hostilities were began, and again by the humans. We only saw the Scouts after that started to happen. So I think the Scouts being released is either the Thargoids reacting to the hostile actions that we've given, or, as you say, they are pre-programmed and are reacting to either a call to arms from the Thargoids, or it's just a coincidence that they're old and have now come back to life. So I don't know. Hollow Me is part of the reason I believe that commanders are the Ram Ta AI, and his missions were a way to try and tell you what you were. That's a very No Man's Sky way of thinking. I like it. Yeah, so it's an interesting one. I think the lore question will always get me talking, you know that. It'll always get me ranting, and it'll always get me it'll pique my interest. I think the ongoing story in Elite Dangerous is, it makes me sad. It's been kind of wasted, and I think it had so much potential to be something really special in this game. And again, I will go back to one of my old conversations, in that when this game came out and all the stuff that went off in the Kickstarter and all the stuff about doing the writers packs gave this game a dozen named writers who wrote and published a range of books that ranged from extremely good to passable. There was enough positivity, enough meat, and enough impetus from that alone to drive so many stories, even just based on stuff from the books. Look at what Drew did with Premonition. Yeah, Premonition. And how that built on what happened in Reclamation. So Reclamation started off a whole cult in the game of people who worshipped Salome and people who wanted to move her story forward. They could have used that as a fulcrum for another set of stories. And then you've got what happens in Premonition, and then you've got the Thargoid story coming in, you've got the Guardian story coming in as well. You've got these commanders. Power Play, for example, is just such a wasted opportunity. Power Play, okay, it's a mechanic to try and add some more combat and more friction into the universe itself. Fine, but you've introduced a dozen new characters, a dozen realms, if you like, a dozen factions that you can bring in as story fodder. And what happened with it? You had an Imperial, a Federal, and that was it, who basically interacted. So an Imperial and 3 Federals, sorry, three Imperials and a Federal who essentially interacted as one story that went through a year of stuff and ended up fizzling out to nothing. It's such a waste. If it hadn't been if it hadn't been because of the fact those characters have been so badly wasted and were such an obvious two-dimensional rip of things from other genres. I mean, come on, we all know who the blue-haired lass is meant to be, don't we? And we know who people look like. I mean, every person in that cast of characters had a real-world equivalent in terms of actress or character. It was very badly done. It was very thin. It was very shallow, and it still is very shallow. And it has been wasted. All they are is figureheads for essentially a combat mechanic, and it has pushed the whole idea of narrative to one side. And the momentum, that's the word I was looking for, the momentum they gained from the stories and the books all coming along and then being published and being part of the lore, even the ones from Golanx, which were very good stories in their own right, not fully integrated into Elite, but still worthy of actually being able to be pushed out to do stuff with, they could have pushed that content into the game. And that was there was a kind of theory behind that right at the very start, that the whole reason that you could have a named planet, a named star, all that kind of stuff as part of the writer's pack fed into the stories. The Prism system, Morton Mart, even the additions made to Lave were all part of those overriding narratives that could have been incorporated into the game, but they did nothing with it. And that's the crime here, as far as I'm concerned. Why less No Man's Sky, more along the lines of why can Kahina find information out on stations when we don't have anything other than Galnet? The news group with the almost Thargoid symbol, there's nothing there. So I mean, there's hints, there's shallowness, but it's all in the Galnet posts, and there's nothing to actually find. And they keep telling us there's stuff out there we can find, but as you say, it's a universe of 400 billion stars, and even if you look in the bubble, you've still got, I think it's 30% of it is being explored, but without having a bit of a clue or finding something that's going to tell us that, or having some kind of in-game event that highlights something that's going on, it's going to be tricky for us to hit it randomly. And the stuff about all these messages that keep getting found, all these trails of information that get found, you find them all in the wrong order, then you're not quite going to get the right story initially, and it's all based on random chance of finding that information. So I don't know. Gnosis could have been a very good chance for a bit of narrative, but it was immediately taken straight out of the game and away from everything. Yeah, that's what I mean. They almost get it and then they backtrack, or they shy away from something that could have an impact. But I think the situation is, they say they've got a 10-year plan. So this game, in theory, will be updated and content will be added until, what, 2024? But what does that actually mean in terms of the actual game content itself? The storyline, or game content, or the ongoing plot, or is it just the story with the Thargoids? Because that's what Frontier First Encounters was based on. Was the whole narrative, the whole single narrative there was all based on Thargoids. That all led up to the Turner's Quest and all that kind of stuff. But what's happening in this game is a very similar single form narrative. There's no multiple threads because they don't have enough writing staff to cover multiple threads of stories. They don't have the ability to write that stuff into the game because it's all manually controlled by manually added content. It's almost like they have to edit a database to add something in terms of story content or lore content or in-game events. And I think that's exactly what it is, to be honest with you. And the concern there is, how do you then push that story forward if you don't have a coherent story group? You need a group of people who can sit and work these things out and actually almost be employed purely to push the story forward. And you know what the sad thing about it is that they have such a huge community of creative people, because Elite draws creative people in left, right and centre. Nearly everybody on this stream tonight including the people who've been in the chat, albeit briefly in some cases, are very creative people. And that's just a very small cross section of the entire community. We know for a fact there are people out there who could put pen to paper and push story after story after story into this game, and push all of this narrative, all of this lore, completely through the roof, and create something almost on a par with Star Trek Online or EVE Online or any of these other big narrative games. Ugh. The narrative of having game explained how Garnet announced the failure. Yeah, that's it. But there's one thing that Frontier is not very good at, and that is seeing where an in-game or a real world event or a real world failure could handle an in-game narrative. And one of the things that I found very, very frustrating working with Frontier when I did the book was a lot of the stuff that I've done for the last 20 years was put together specifically to explain why shortcomings in the game technology or the environment or anything else were present and how they were fixed moving forward. And I think that's a very important part of keeping your audience immersed. Oh, my immersion! Immersed in the game. Is even if it seems pedantic or pathetic, explain everything. Make sure that everything that happens in the real world in terms of the game development, of the game's own story, is reflected in the narrative and in the lore. So, even if it's only superficial, even if it's on the surface. For example, one thing I wrote into one of my short stories, which are available on my website, was I went from playing the Spectrum version of the game to the Amiga version of the game. Major differences between the Amiga version of the game and the Spectrum version of the game was that you have filled in graphics. So rather than saying the line drawings went from line drawings to fully filled in colour graphics, within the stories that I was writing, I said all the visual interfaces had been updated to give you high resolution displays. It's not a specific way of saying that things had changed, but what it does give you is that link where somebody who's in the background could then say, that's what that is. And it's a little thing that hooks you in. And that's what all this writing stuff is all about, is hooks. Oh gods! There are people who sit there and immediately doubt anything anyone who paid to write a book says about game lore. Several streamers have said that Drew talks with David Braben was all in his head, so even if someone was allowed to say the exact location of somewhere and they said it would be in their book, it would not be believed. Like I said before, the internet's the internet. You will have the polar opposite of every single viewpoint somewhere on the internet. There are people there who think that Drew is probably an alien come from above to kill us all. People who probably think that he's been sleeping with David Braben, or even that he is David Braben, and people that say he probably wouldn't even know who David Braben was if he spat in his face. But the internet's the internet. As far as I'm concerned, there's always going to be a vocal minority who will spout their stuff, despite all the logical conclusions to the contrary. And you just need to deal with that as it comes. But the point is, where you always have that vocal negativity, you'll also have that vocal opposition, that vocal minority on the opposite side. So something you do, somebody will think is absolutely shit. On the other side of that, you'll also have the vocal minority that will say it's absolutely wonderful. And that's the yin and yang of the internet. The majority of the time, you'll find that if you do something to target a specific demographic, that demographic will fucking love it. And the demographic to each side of that slightly will also love it. And then you get that declining sense of the further you go from that core demographic, the worse it'll be received. And then you'll have your fringe idiots who will be at the very extent of common sense and sanity, who will take the exact opposite end of each thing. So that's just the way things are. I mean, people think that Michael Brooks was a big shake for Elite. People who know me, or who maybe don't know me all that well, would potentially really doubt that I ever spoke to the man, let alone the fact that he said that I'd managed to achieve something wonderful with Elite Encounters. he says, pushing himself and his ego through the roof. No, it's just a comment, but it's a conversation with somebody who I've had a lot of time alongside working with this book on, and did go through a very difficult time where it looked like that book was never going to happen. Yeah, I admit it. But he did stick by me, and he did that. Awesome, can you go down and give him a hug from me? Just turn up at his door, knock on his door and say, Dave says hi, hug him, and then leave. I just record it if you can actually as well, because I'd love to see how he reacts to that. But yeah, so it's all good stuff, and I think what Frontier do with the game ultimately, we all know it's Frontier's game, it's David Braben's game. As a fan, I'm glad I had some input into it. I'm glad my little stamp is on there. I've got a space station in there, I've got a planet in there. I've managed to write and kind of publish. Yeah, publish I suppose is the right word. Even though I've not quite got to the full extent of what I need to get to. Something based on that, which I wanted to do for over a decade, maybe nearly 2 decades. Then, yeah, that's an achievement in my life that I'm quite proud of. But ultimately, I now understand that any input I can have into that is minimal. It's not my product, it's not my game, it's not my universe. And I can't do anything about that. Yeah, typical Mr. Brooks. Under his hat, under so many hats, and so much hair. And a helmet. And quite often an octopus face. But it's all good stuff, I suppose. They have to go the way they want to walk with this game. They have the creative control over it. They need to take it the direction they go. I think they've made a huge mistake by not tapping the community that they have, and not paying attention to that community on a lot of things that were very, very keen, very, very keenly felt within that community, and very, very openly communicated. I think they made a big mistake stopping listening to the development and design forum. Is it DDT it was called? You know, the one that was allowed to have some input into the initial release. They made a big mistake stopping listening to that and shutting down that kind of idea. That was probably one of the most innovative things that I think they did in terms of game design initially, was to open up the development process to the fandom, and it did help, and they admitted it helped, and then they stopped using it. They've also stopped tapping the community for as much beta testing as they have done before. They don't do it in the same way as they used to. They used to have a closed beta, then the open beta. Now they just do the open beta on a major release. And I think that if they are running into problems with the development process, they need to be open about that and open it to a core group of people involved with the game and its fandom who can possibly have some external influence. Because I'm a developer myself, I know how the processes work. Sometimes you get so locked into a problem or so locked into a theory or a concept that you lose sight of everything around it, and you can't see the wood from the trees. It's a very, very common thing. Being able to tap a friendly, allied force, because that's what we are, we're a force, would give you that external opinion and that clarity and that fresh perspective to push through some of the problems. And that might have helped them get through some of the issues with the development hikes they had for the carriers. They could have got around that. It could have helped them see that if they were having problems with instancing in the P2P model, there were other talented IT professionals involved with the community who could help with that and perhaps show you a better way to do it or give you alternatives. But I mean, I know I've been there. That's the thing. IT, I'm only in IT in computers because of Elite. If it hadn't been for Elite, I wouldn't have had the interest in space. I wouldn't have had the interest in computers and computer games and how they work and 3D and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be 3D printing crap off because I wouldn't have a 3D bone in my body, because the first 3D game that came up on my screen was Elite, and it got me into this. Oh, how does that move? How does that work? The spinny ships. And you have to kind of expand your knowledge base, or else you're going to dry up. and I don't know what the recruitment policies are like. I don't know what turnover they've had of their staff. That's their business completely. But I think it needs to go from there, and they need to look seriously at what the fandom can do for them. Because a lot of us really want to give something back, but we really want to be respected for it, rather than just used and cast aside. And I'm not going to cast any more aspersions than that, even as to what I mean by that statement. But anyway. So yeah, I am going to have to draw this to a close, because it is getting on and I have a dog to let out. So Bifford, if you're still around, you're listed as AFK in Discord at the moment. I want to thank you for joining me. Mr. Wagar, I want to thank you for trying to pop in earlier. It was good to see you, if only briefly. And next time I do this, I might use Skype. Or at least try and give people a hand on trying to get into Discord. Neil ERS, yes, thank you for popping in. And thank you for talking to us all night. Take care of yourself, sir. Or madam. I'm not quite sure. Oh dear. Bifford, I see you're back. Bifford.
Yeah, I was just doing some tidying and sorting of spits, but I was listening, so...
Yeah, sorry, I kind of ranted a bit. You wanted me to rant, so I ranted.
It's all good.
But yeah, so... How about that Brexit then? Roar! Oh. Anyway, yes, so... thanks for popping on, Bifford. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'll probably do this. I've quite enjoyed this, actually. How does everyone think it's gone? Has it been fun? Do we like this kind of stuff?
I'll scan in those character sheets that I genned and get them over to you.
I want them typed.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Scanning's fine, dude.
No, I'll type.
Just text is smaller, you see. Easier to send as well. But yes, I mean, if people have enjoyed this kind of stuff, then let me know. Again, comments on social media, comments on Facebook, comments. It's social media. Shut up, David. You should have had the payment confirmation, Gamora. I have confirmed your payment, so it should actually have gone through now. You should be able to download it.
Do you want to mention the Elite Encounters Discord server, just because people probably don't know about it?
No, I think you should. Because it's your baby.
Okay, I'll get the link.
And you can talk about it as well, while I try and find something.
Okay. I mean, there's not many people there, so I would love more people to drop by. I will always answer whenever I can, which just might be between work, jobs and stuff, but questions or just for general chit chat, it's all good.
Definitely agree with that. It's definitely there to use. I didn't notice there'd been some posts on there today, and I popped in and there's some quite interesting questions being asked, which I enjoyed. So yeah, definitely worth popping on there. If more people start using it, I'll check it more often.
There is the link.
Yay! Click on that link right away, everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, then obviously that you can't click on that link, as it were. But I'll try and remember to stick it in the comment in the description, even though it's not an Elite Encounters related thing. Gamora, your payment has been completed. Your download should now be ready to download. You should have had a confirmation as well, actually, because it should be an automatic process. Anyway, but yeah, one day at one convention, sometime in the future, I will probably bring along with me the unedited, unexpurgated lore section with the 70,000 extra words within that were cut, and in a very quiet corner with shadows and dancing
which
lights.
One day I will actually get to read that section, because I skipped it when I didn't need to do it.
Don't! I mean, you have that. You have that file there, so you have it at your beck and call, dude.
I do.
Read it whenever you like. But yes, there is a printed copy of it in existence within my abode, and it will be at a series of conventions at some point in the future. It will be put into a bag and brought with me. So yeah, keep an eye on things like social media and these broadcasts for ideas where I'm going to be and what conventions I'm going to. So I mean, if you haven't heard so far, I'm going to be at a late meet in Manchester at Easter. I think it's actually Easter weekend. So I'll be there. So I may bring it with me to that. If not, then I can even just tell you what was in it. Buy me a pint, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Buy me 2 pints, I'll tell you stuff you probably didn't want to know. Buy me 3 pints, I'll do stuff that you probably didn't want me to do to you. Yeah. No promises though, some of those cost money. So if you have a look on Facebook for Elite Meet 2019, or even on the internet for it, it's got a website as well. All the information's there. It's at, oh god, I can't remember where it's at. It's at a hotel. It's at a fancy hotel in Manchester city centre. I can't remember. But yes, please come anyone. So I'll be at that. The other conventions this year are LaveCon in June and Fantasticon in August. I won't be at either, most likely. I might be at Burton Comic Con. I'm not sure yet. I may not be able to. It depends on whether I've got anything I can actually sell. Otherwise, nope, nothing else.
Your body.
What? Pardon?
You said if you had anything to sell, there's always your body.
Oh god, nobody would want that. That's ruined. Can't even get that. Can't even give that away in free cycle. Look at, yeah, Gamora. If you just want to check that your payment has gone through, the store says it's done and PayPal says it's done, so it should be okay. Just double check that you can get to your download link. If you can't, I'll see if anything I need to sort out. But yes. So enough procrastinating. I need to go. My doggy will be cross-legged, and I need to let him stop being. Oh god, typical. Somebody arrives just as I'm about to leave again. Oh, it's always something interesting as well. Zach, welcome to the stream. Hello, how are you doing? Sorry, but I'm just logging off, dude. I'm supposed to be gone 40 minutes ago, but anyway, I got talking. You know what I'm like when I'm talking. But yes, so if you enjoyed this format, Zach, my whole broadcast will be on YouTube in about 3 hours. Maybe less than that if I can actually get it done quickly. It's been a chatty one rather than a thing. It still says pending. Okay, let me go back onto the site. No. This has happened once before. I have actually to set something back to thing again. I keep trying to tell people if they're listening not to use PayPal Express. Yeah, it does. It still says pending. Okay, now. Okay, right. Let's see. Payment details. Customer details. Order products. Why can't I click on that? Continue. Do 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 do. Order status complete. Save. Shipping method. I need to select one from that. It says it's been on PayPal, which is odd. Okay, right, try it again, Gamora. That should be it fixed now. Sales. It's marked as complete, definitely on the sales website now. In the back end, it's all sorted, so just give it a check and see what it says. So yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this, if anyone watching this on YouTube has enjoyed this kind of chat, rant, lower random crap session, let me know and I'll do them more often. If they're a popular thing, I'll probably do them once a month. Something like that on a semi-regular or regular basis. Ooh, yay! Slight technical issues, but it has been fun. I'll be back next time, same time next week, hopefully. Yeah, same time next week. So good. The more the merrier. Tell them Selezen sent you, and you'll get fuck all for free. Right, so yeah, I'll probably play a game next week. It'll depend on how I feel, but we'll see what happens in the meantime. Have a great week. Again, thank you to Bifford for joining me online. Say good night, Bifford.
Toodles.
Yeah, most people would have said good night, Bifford, at that point, but never mind. Yeah, so I shall nip into the other. Close down the screen. No, not that. And I'll say bye. So take care, everyone. Have an awesome week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Take care, guys. Fly safe.